The spinal cord is a cylindrical structure that extends from the medulla oblongata at the level of the foramen magnum and continues down through the vertebral canal, terminating around the level of the L1 or L2 vertebra in adults. It serves as the major communication highway between the brain and the body, conducting motor commands to the periphery and transmitting sensory information from the periphery to the brain. It also plays a crucial role in reflex integration. Let's begin with the external features of the spinal cord. The spinal cord is approximately 42 to 45 centimeters long in adults and is divided into four main regions: cervical, thoracic, lumbar, and sacral. Although it appears as a continuous tube, the spinal cord shows enlargements in two specific regions where the nerves to the limbs arise: the cervical enlargement, around C4 to T1, and the lumbosacral enlargement, around L1 to S3. These enlargements accommodate the increased number of motor neurons required to innervate the upper and lower limbs. At its lower end, the spinal cord tapers into a conical structure called the conus medullaris, which gives rise to the filum terminale, a thin filament of connective tissue that extends down to anchor the cord to the coccyx. Inferior to the conus medullaris is the cauda equina, a bundle of spinal nerve roots that resembles a horse's tail, descending within the lumbar cistern of the subarachnoid space. Externally, the spinal cord shows two prominent longitudinal grooves, the anterior median fissure and the posterior median sulcus. The anterior median fissure is deeper and located on the ventral surface, while the posterior median sulcus is shallower and located on the dorsal surface. These grooves help demarcate the right and left halves of the cord. Emerging from the sides of the spinal cord are paired spinal nerves, each formed by the fusion of a dorsal, posterior, root and a ventral, anterior, root. The dorsal roots carry sensory fibers and have associated dorsal root ganglia, which house the cell bodies of sensory neurons. The ventral roots carry motor fibers that originate from motor neurons in the anterior horn of the spinal cord. Each pair of spinal nerves exits the vertebral canal through the intervertebral foramina. The spinal cord is protected by three connective tissue layers collectively called the meninges. These are the dura mater, outermost, tough and fibrous, arachnoid mater, middle, delicate and avascular, and pia mater, innermost, closely adherent to the spinal cord. The subarachnoid space, located between the arachnoid and pia, contains cerebrospinal fluid, which provides cushioning and nutrient transport. Now moving to the internal features of the spinal cord. A transverse section of the spinal cord reveals a central region of gray matter, shaped like a butterfly or the letter H, surrounded by an outer region of white matter. The gray matter contains the neuronal cell bodies, dendrites, and unmyelinated axons, while the white matter consists mainly of myelinated axons organized into ascending and descending tracts. The gray matter is organized into horns, the dorsal, posterior, horns, which receive sensory input, the ventral, anterior, horns, which contain motor neurons, and the lateral horns, present only in the thoracic and upper lumbar segments, which contain preganglionic sympathetic neurons. The central canal, a small cavity in the center of the gray matter, contains cerebrospinal fluid and is continuous with the ventricular system of the brain. The canal is surrounded by the gray commissure, a bridge of gray matter that connects the two halves of the spinal cord. Surrounding the gray matter is the white matter, which is divided into three columns or funiculi: anterior, ventral, lateral, and posterior, dorsal, funiculi. Each funiculus contains bundles of axons called tracts or fasciculi. These tracts are functionally organized into ascending sensory pathways, such as the spinothalamic tract and dorsal columns, and descending motor pathways, such as the corticospinal tract. The organization of gray and white matter varies at different levels of the spinal cord. In the cervical region, there is more white matter compared to gray matter due to the presence of many ascending and descending tracts. The cervical and lumbar enlargements have larger ventral horns due to the increased number of motor neurons supplying the limbs. In the thoracic region, the lateral horns are prominent, housing autonomic neurons. In summary, the spinal cord is a vital structure with distinct external and internal features. Externally, it is organized into regions, shows two major enlargements, and gives rise to spinal nerves. Internally, it has a characteristic arrangement of gray and white matter, with specialized regions for sensory processing, motor output, and autonomic control. This structural complexity underpins the spinal cord's essential roles in neural transmission and reflex activity.